The fire inside people is like a match. The way to ignite the flame is initially through friction, then other matches are lit through warmth. Stephen Covey. Welcome to the last day of our 12-day mental well-being challenge powered by 6 seconds. A big welcome to those who've joined the group in time for this last session. Have you ever considered that you are a billion-dollar asset? You are complex, intricate, and unique. The psalmist says, fearfully and wonderfully made, a combination of spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental spheres, all of which are crucial to your overall well-being. And yet, how often do you take time to ensure that you are servicing each of those parts of yourself? Each of these dimensions contributes to your success at work, and ignoring any, failing to tune in, pay attention, and make corrections if necessary is a recipe for disaster. We'll service our cars like clockwork, but we shy away from taking the time to go for an annual physical. And we are definitely not going to consider asking for help if we're feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or overly stressed. And let's not talk about that D word, because that's a sign of weakness, right? Wrong. A billion-dollar asset will erode in value very quickly if it is not looked after. And a key part of looking after any asset is taking it for regular service. To keep a car going, you will fill it with petrol. You will check the oil and water regularly and give the tires some air. Likewise, you must take the time to reflect on whether you're giving yourself what you need to flourish and live well. As we wind down this Mental Health Awareness Month, I'm delighted that you've joined me as we continue to take time to service this billion-dollar asset with a focus on our mental health. A big shout out to all those who joined us yesterday for our EQ Lunch and Learn, the right mentality, where we explored strategies that you can utilize in order to navigate mental health challenges. If you missed it, you can find the recording online, and we'll share the link later in the group so that you can watch it and catch up. Shall we wrap up our 12-day conversation with a challenge to disrupt ourselves? I started on my EQ journey with 6 seconds in 2016. I attended a certification course that transformed my thinking and set me on a new trajectory. It really was that powerful. Just like Maria, who wrote the original version of this 12-day challenge that we've adapted for our use, I could have so easily reverted to type, defaulting back to the well-trodden path of patterns that weren't actually serving me well. My negative self-talk, my tendency to jump to judgment, all judgment of myself and my emotions, as well as of the behavior of others. Regressing to habits is the most natural thing for a brain to do. Habits are automatic and thus take less of the brain's precious energy. Breaking bad habits, then, takes some dedicated work. Like lighting a match, we must create friction to transform darkness into light, intentionally lighting that match every single day in 100 different ways. And guess what? It actually becomes easier. The old destructive habits will be in your brain, but their grooves become shallower as your healthy new habits become deeper. What will cause this phenomenal change inside yourself, stopping you from regressing to your old unhealthy patterns that have a negative impact on your mental well-being? You must make an immediate plan. You must take immediate action. We are never going to create lasting change if we don't believe in our mission. But I suspect you are up to something big because you've participated in this 12-day mental well-being challenge. I suspect that something has ignited inside of you. And I know for certain that nothing is more worthy of your attention than continuing to fan the flames of whatever you found here as we've discussed. What have we been talking about over the 12-day period? We've been exploring how you can build your capacity for mental well-being. On day one, we discussed the idea of gratitude. Gratitude, how being grateful helps our mental well-being. And our challenge was to spend a moment being grateful. On that particular day, you were asked to reach out to somebody that you are grateful for. But the principle of gratitude remains. What are you grateful for? Count your blessings, name them one by one. You'll be surprised at what the Lord has done. And so in order to strengthen our mental well-being, we need to shift our mindset to one of gratitude. On our second day of our mental well-being challenge, we talked about empathy. Research shows that possessing empathy is crucial for good mental health, as being able to connect with others and share enough of yourself to feel connected in return adds immeasurably to the relationship happiness. Consistently practicing empathy improves your ability to effectively manage and respond to an emotional experience. So through the expression of empathy, you may be more equipped to handle stressful or emotionally challenging situations. In the end, it also helps you to be more effective at managing your own stress. We talked about the fact that empathy can be uncomfortable, but we must be willing to be uncomfortable, to be a little vulnerable, and how it ultimately benefits us. Day three, we talked about self-compassion. A crucial part of developing greater mental well-being is the ability to extend ourselves self-compassion. People say love yourself, but what exactly does it mean? We often know it in our heads, but are we actually practicing it? And so we talked about how to practice self-compassion, and we shared a tool that you can utilize, a tool of meditation that can help you to practice self-compassion, a tool from Tara Brach called the RAIN method, and the link was shared for you to do that. In the words of Carl Rogers, the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just the way I am, then I can begin to change. Day 4 of our mental well-being challenge was a focus on legacy. What does a good life look like? Lots of time with family and friends, perhaps, food on the table, a basic sense of having needs met, having good health, a career that we believe in, a career that we love. But what does an extraordinary life look like? One that is deeply rooted in purpose and meaning. And so we spend some time looking at purpose. Research shows that individuals who have a strong sense of purpose and meaning in life tend to have better mental health, overall well-being. Having a positive and meaningful aspect in your life really helps you as far as your mental well-being is concerned. And so we spend some time thinking about legacy, and you were encouraged to really fine-tune what your purpose is and immerse yourself in your purpose on a daily basis. Day 5, we talked about intention. We talked about making choices on a daily basis with intention, choices that are aligned to the purpose that you'd identified the day before. A 2019 study with college students found that taking values-based actions promoted a higher ability to manage stressful life events. Beyond that, several science-backed treatments use intentional living, living according to your values, to treat conditions like depression. Another study in 2021, where participants recorded their distress, well-being, and values-based actions every day for 21 days, it was found that taking more values-based actions linked to lower daily distress and greater daily well-being. Choosing a life of intentionality means saying yes to the meaningful and no to that which is not aligned with your values. And so we talked about making a list and then assessing what you are doing on a daily basis to ensure you are living in line with your purpose. On day 6, we talked about optimism. Optimism is a mental attitude characterized by hope and confidence in success and a positive future. Optimists are those who expect good things to happen, where pessimists instead predict unfavorable outcomes. There is evidence that optimistic thinking is correlated with better mental health. Optimistic attitudes are linked to a number of benefits, including better coping skills, lower stress levels, better physical health, and higher persistence when pursuing goals. So how can we build this skill, because it is a skill, of optimism? Consider the options that exist. A simple exercise for practicing optimism is to explore options, because optimism is just simply that. What options exist? On day 7, we looked at the EQ superpower of emotional awareness, tuning into how we're feeling. Emotional awareness means knowing when feelings are present in ourselves and others. It is closely related to emotional literacy, which means being able to label our feelings with specific feeling words. At its highest level, it means being able to predict our feelings in advance. Low emotional awareness is associated with increased risks for multiple mental problems, including depression and anxiety. And so the challenge on that day was to spend moments throughout the course of the day tuning in to your emotions. On day 8, we talked about connection. Why is connection important? Well, Dr. Sonia Lubomirsky puts it this way: your friend gets your joke, your coworker offers congratulations, your spouse hugs you hello. They are all helping you to bust stress and boost well-being. In fact, Mental Health America found that 71% of people surveyed turn to friends and family in times of stress. Research shows that connection helps mental health. Having friends and other social connections is good for your well-being. Being lonely or isolated can affect your mental, emotional, and physical health. And so on this day, we explored the relationships we have, and you were challenged to be intentional about reaching out to those in your circle. On day 9, we talked about trust in God. And we asked the question, what builds a sense of trust and faith? I shared that prayer and meditation works for me. I remind myself when I'm going through dark days that I know how the story ends. No matter how dark it gets, morning will break because God has promised it. And so the challenge was to claim the promises of God, even when you don't feel as though your prayers are going anywhere. To believe it in your head, regardless of your emotions. The reality is that God is in sovereign control. And for those of us who are believers, that ought to give us confidence. Just because I am a Christian, it doesn't mean life will be easy. It just means that I am not alone and I can trust God. It's okay not to be okay because Christ is the one holding my life together. He's promised and I trust him. And so the challenge was to lean into God to navigate stress and uncertainty and overwhelm and bring ourselves back into balance. But at the same time, even as we pray and trust, get the help that we may need. Day number 10 was to luxuriate, to make sure that every moment, even the very mundane, we take an opportunity to create a hot fudge moment. How can you savor the little things, the mundane things that you have to do on a day-to-day basis, instead of getting caught up in the minutiae? How can you highlight, or how can you improve your take on that particular day? Calling a friend, jamming to your favorite piece of music, indulging in a podcast, taking 10 deep uninterrupted breaths, counting your blessings. What treat could you safely and healthily inject into the mundane moments of every day? When we savor the moment, it is a convenient, free, and effective way to increase happiness, quality of life, and reduce stress, strengthening our mental well-being. And then yesterday we talked about the fact that we must be willing to step outside of our comfort zone. What patterns exist that you need to step outside of? Patterns that are hampering your mental well-being. And so the idea was to just explore for a moment patterns that are holding us back, and then to step out of our comfort zone. If you always stay in your comfort zone and avoid situations where you might feel uncomfortable or fail, then there is no way you are going to grow as an individual. It is our default as humans, when we step into moments of discomfort, to want to step back into our comfort zone. But we must have the courage to move forward. We must have the courage to step outside of our comfort zone if we're going to strengthen our mental health. And so that's the journey that we have been on over the last 11 days, culminating in today's message. And today, our challenge is that we must disrupt ourselves. So what is it? What do you want? Think big. What of this 12-day challenge has really spoken to your heart and mind? What is whispering to you, please, please do more of this? Write a few of these mental well-being goals down and remember them as we move into the next phase. What is it that has really spoken to you? What is it that you could apply that would continue to strengthen your mental well-being? Think about it. Close your eyes and take a moment as you reflect on each of the steps forward in the direction you need to go. What acts done consistently over time will lead you to remaining in balance, or at least more consistently so. Write them down. Put them somewhere visible and do them. Disrupt yourself and make taking care of your mental health a priority by building your capacity for greater mental well-being. Here's a few tips to successfully latch on to new habits if you haven't already found your own ways of doing so. Create a daily to-do list with your new habits on it, and smile big when you check it off. So be intentional about adding these new habits to the things you do on a daily basis. Perhaps on a daily basis you want to spend time savoring the moment, so put it on the list. Perhaps on a daily basis you want to spend time thinking about the good things that are going on in your life, taking time for gratitude. Put it on your list. Add a 5-minute gratitude session as part of the things you would do on a daily basis. Meet with a friend and tell them your goals. So get an accountability partner. That's the second way. And ask them to hold you accountable. Tell them that these are the practices that you want to bring in or make a daily part of your life. And ask them to check in with you to make sure you're truly doing it. The third is to read a book or watch a TV series or listen to a podcast on the subject you are wanting to practice to boost your awareness of the topic. Set a concrete time limit for practicing. So commit to spending time building your capacity. Whatever ends up working for you, don't forget to reflect. Take time to measure your progress, whether it's with a journal, a therapist, a friend, or a spreadsheet. So, ready, set, practice. There you have it. That's the last of our 12-day challenge. I hope that you found the series beneficial. Remember, ready, set, practice. It's not enough to know, you must actually do. You may find it overwhelming to try everything. My challenge always is choose one thing. What is the one takeaway? What is the one thing you will do going forward to boost your mental well-being? Remember, the goal with each of these daily challenges is to build capacity to maintain mental well-being. If you are feeling overwhelmed, failing to cope, it's not weakness to ask for help. Reach out and get the support you need from a professional. Thank you so much for joining me over these 12 days as we've explored how you can build your mental well-being. I trust you found the session beneficial. Goodbye for now.